6, a helping hand with your land.
Neil from Essex here. We're out on a cold, snowy day today to have a short conversation with you about some of the cold weather tips that we can give you about keeping your equipment running well in the wintertime. So if you remember, about a year ago, we did another video where we had 6 or 8 inches of snow on top of every one of these tractors, and we jumped from one machine to the next to see how far we had to go before we couldn't get one of these things started. At that point, I went through nearly 30 machines before I got one with a dead battery, and I was happy to stop at that point. A modern diesel engine is not like machines like you may have thought of from years and years ago. These are actually fairly well-tempered machines in cold climates. So if I hop on any one of these tractors out here today, typically we go 5 or 10 seconds on the glow plug, crank the engine over. If it doesn't go back to 5 to 10 seconds on the glow plugs again and turn again. You want to go between those short bursts on those glow plugs because a real long duration can actually burn the tips out on the plugs over time, so they're best used in short bursts. If you're in a really extremely cold climate, we do see some guys use block heaters, right? You can screw a heating element up into the block of the engine, plug that into the wall for about an hour or two, and that will heat the antifreeze inside the engine and make it easier to start. So those two electric methods can keep your engine warmed up a little bit in order to get the fluid turning and get the thing turned over. So now that we've successfully gotten your engine started, we've got to think about your hydraulic system as well. Most of these tractors and RTVs and other equipment will have anywhere between about 3 and 10 gallons of hydraulic fluid in the back of them. And on a cold day like this, that fluid is thick. Even your synthetic fluids and that kind of stuff can be thick at cold temperatures. So once you've got your engine running, the first thing you want to do is let your tractor sit and idle for a little while. Let things spin and warm up and bring that hydraulic fluid up to temperature as well. If you took that machine and went and just say slammed on the gas, take your RTV for example, these are an extreme example of this, that can hit 25 miles an hour. When it's cold outside, that machine may only want to get up to 8 or 10, and the reason for that is because all these fluids are so thick and have to be pumped through small orifices and hydraulic pumps and those kinds of things in order to get going. You may even hear a really loud whining sound, and that can be whining from the pump actually cavitating as fluid is being sucked into the pump, and the pump can't get enough of it and actually cavitates and puts micro wear on the inside of those pumps. So letting your tractor idle for a couple of minutes when it's really, really cold can prevent you from doing small amounts of damage that can progressively add up over time in your hydraulic system. So if your tractor doesn't start, 9 out of 10 times we can go back and trace that reason back to fuel. If you look here on the side of most of your machines, you'll be able to see a clear fuel water separator. If you see a line form in here, it's going to tell you that your diesel fuel has picked up water, typically through condensation or something like that, and that line of water here can actually freeze inside of this filter. So if you see that line of water in there, it's good to unscrew this thing and dump it out. If you see clumping in here, that means your fuel is gelling, and gelled fuel isn't going to flow through the lines. Your machine can act like it's starving for fuel or not get fuel at all when it goes to start. So you could typically see that in the filter, but you can normally know, you go and turn your engine over, you don't get any white puffs of smoke or anything like that, which give you an indicator that your engine is starving for fuel. Fuel really needs to be addressed in a couple of ways. Typically, if you've got a fuel issue on your tractor and it's cold outside, I'm sorry, it's too late for you now, right? It's something that needs to be addressed as preventative maintenance. We hear from a lot of customers that, oh, the fuel that I buy from my fuel supplier has been already treated for cold weather. And that may be true, but when you start to get that fuel into really low temperatures and not in underground tanks or sitting in these really thin fuel lines, it can gel with less additives, right? You need more additives in that fuel to treat it in some of your applications. So our parts department or many automotive stores are going to carry different kinds of diesel fuel treatments. This one's 13 bucks and treats 250 gallons, right? It's not necessarily expensive stuff. And a little bit of preventative maintenance of making sure that you've got enough additive in there to prevent anti-gel, or this one has water disbursement too, that if you picked up water, it spreads it out through all the fuel so that it can make its way through the engine, will help prevent those cold weather starting issues. So those are a couple of tips about operating your machine in cold weather. I hope you can get out here this winter and enjoy the piece of equipment you have. For me personally, there's nothing quite as enjoyable as coming out in a cold morning and pushing some snow around. So if we can help you with any parts or service needs, or you're shopping for a piece of equipment, give us a call, 800-222-3373, or online at Messiks.com.